Let's get ready to throw down.
What is up, everybody? Sales Throwdown. We are back. We are still working from home, as are most people, and we are talking about how much of your personal belief do you bring into your sales process, right? We're in the middle of an election season. There's a lot of division. How much of that do you carry in? How much do you talk about? What do you avoid? And Clint, you were talking about a project. Do you want to catch us up on that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I feel like everything we talk about here, for my sake, is always about churches. I don't know why. So I just remember recently I got an invite and a phone call from a customer that said, "Hey, we're building this church. We have 4 or 5 in Dallas, Fort Worth. We want to build one in Houston." And I said, "Oh, that's great. What are you guys looking to do?" They tell me about the building. They tell me about the mechanical system. And I said, "Okay, well, just for my reference, what is the, so I can write it down. What's the project called? Who's the owner? Who's the architect, whatever." And as soon as they mentioned the name of the church, I kept the conversation going, but deep down inside of me, it hit me in the gut of, wow, I don't believe in any of what you guys believe in. And as a person, as a human being, it's hard for me to continue the talks on this deal. But as a businessman, I want to build a church, so it raises a good question. And I don't know that there's a right answer or a wrong answer, because I'd probably, if I shut the deal down today because of my personal beliefs, I would feel okay with that. If I kept going and made a good business deal with a church I don't believe in, I also, as a businessman, feel good with this. So I don't think there's any right or wrong answer here, but I'm curious to see, what everybody thinks about this, right?
Yeah. Nan, what are your thoughts?
Oh,
Well, of course you'd go to
I
her
have
first.
so many.
Well, as someone who is very outspoken spiritual on the show, right? I'm curious as to what she would do. I mean, I think I know the answer, but I'm still curious.
Okay, so I want to say so many things, but I'm going to go directly to what Clint just spoke of. So I would feel compelled to go ahead and take the job, and because the building's going to get built no matter what, right? But if you're there, and I feel like I think you can be a positive influence in that project. So I would go into that project, do it, be positive. I'm not saying you're going to change them. I'm definitely not saying that. And I would interject at times through kindness, care, honesty, my beliefs. I think that you could do that, So the first thing that popped in my head, of course, a lot of things, because it happens a lot. A lot of people know I love Jesus Christ. I mean, he's number one in my life, right? So the thing that one of the biggest things that happened was I was in surgery. The team knew this about me, just because we had worked together for a long time, and the team being the surgeon, the PA, a bunch of the people, well, practically everyone in the room knew that I was a Christian and a Christ follower, I should say. And my son was in the room at the time, and he's very protective, as sons are. And someone asked me a question about my beliefs, and if I wouldn't have been professionally in that room, I would have said, well, I would have really stated how I felt about it. But I was very, limited with what I said, being respectful that I'm just a vendor in there, right? Number one. And then also, I think as a Christ follower, I'm supposed to be Christ-like, and he didn't stuff himself down people's throats. He said he was kind, honest, and he lived out his life that way, not forcing people. So you're not gonna change them, right? You're not gonna go in and go, okay, I hate your beliefs, but you are gonna be involved in the project. So why not be a good influence in that way? And that's
Cool.
really leaving out a lot of other stuff I want to say. I don't know, to the point that when I was in that room, numerous things were said, very condescending. One was, I wouldn't have a Bible in my house if you paid me. And, just that kind of stuff, intentionally to try to goat me. And my son was just looking at me like, oh my gosh, what's my mom going to say? And I was like, I said nothing, because as I say all the time, it's so important you are a master of your unspoken word, and you are a slave to your to your spoken word. So your wisdom will tell you when you should speak, when you shouldn't speak. You're an amazing man, Clint. My goodness, this is easy. Do it. It's a project. That's what we all need work. You're not building an abortion clinic. Now there, I would,
So
I'd be against that.
and I was actually going to go there next, because I thought that was almost a too easy question after hearing your response. And instead of abortion clinic, since we're talking, the debates are tonight, elections coming up in a few weeks. Let's talk about this. You're on one side of the fence. Your political candidate, enemy, so to speak, wants to build a fundraiser clinic, or a spot that he can spread his team out in your city, and you build buildings for a living like myself, or you put, air conditioning systems in. How far does your political reach go into your professional life? How far does your personal belief go into your professional life that, hey, I don't support these people in the least. How could I build them a headquarters? Right?
Okay, can I interject something really? I feel like it's really important, something you just said. You just said that the other person is an enemy. That is a huge, you don't really think that, okay? If you want to be successful in life, much less, of course, in business too, you can't see people as enemies. You have to see people as they're different, and how are we going to get along? And I know it sounds simplistic and maybe mamby-pamby, but it's ridiculous for us to look at people like that. I'll listen to some of these people right now in this whole political thing going on, and I just go, what? I guess and it's
man, give an example of what you mean by, cite an example when you say you listen to people and then you say what does that look like? What do they say, and why do you have your reaction?
Okay, there's a show that I don't even want to listen to, right? Well, no, there's a million examples actually, but there is a show with 4 women on it, and the entire show, the rhetoric on that show is just hate. They're not they're complaining that Trump, can I even name, that Trump is
It's our show, you can do whatever you want to.
Is trying to pull, is discriminating and vulgar and tweeting, and they hate him. And I'm going,
well, could it be because he said grab women by, what? Is that really?
And I will tell you,
speaking to most moms who are trying to raise
I know probably, let's say I know 1,000 men. There's probably 10 men that I haven't heard comments like that.
My point, that's not germane. You said he's vulgar. They're upset about it. 4 women. Would 4 women sitting around if I yelled, grab a woman by her, whatever?
It's okay.
What I'm saying is,
sniffing hair and grappling is okay for the other side, I guess.
But see, these should not be. It's crazy to me to base your opinion on someone because of a statement you heard them say one time. And if you are that shallow that you want to hate someone or call them your enemy or whatever based off of a statement, you're just going to hate everybody. Come on.
How many statements do we have to have before we can use the word, I really dislike that individual and I don't think there's somebody I want to associate with?
So can I?
That's different than what I'm saying. Totally different.
Okay.
I do want to say that, this this is going to bring up some heated arguments amongst all walks of life, I believe, because I think we all have our cliff, right? We all have our button that we can push and really fire, and it goes. You're hearing right now from one side of the spectrum, which is Nan, right, and you're hearing myself on the other, which is, fight till the death type of mentality. They're both not wrong and they're both not right.
Exactly. I mean, how irritating am I to Clint and Al? I mean, to John and Al. I mean, that's probably really irritating.
I think as a business owner and in sales, as a salesperson, we talk about this a lot, maybe not in this capacity, but it fits. You have to do business in the sense that you feel is good business. I mean, I truly believe that. If you really feel that,
I agree with them.
I mean, if you feel that this is not the right business move for you personally, professionally, I think you have to walk away from the deal, because you'll never be totally bought into satisfying the situation as a salesperson. Whether you're right or wrong in the decision that you make, trust me, if you don't do right by the customer and don't do what you need to do as a salesperson for your company because of some politically driven or religiously driven stuff, that's a failure in itself. So I think if you believe in it and you're bought into it, into the sale or the deal, go for it, but you got to be in it. And the moment that you're not, get the hell out. I really believe that.
Okay, so I wake up, I'm a sales guy today, and I walk in and I'm supposed to press my value system into this equation. I mean,
but that's the point. It's freedom, right? You don't have to.
Agreed.
I'm saying is that at the moment that it doesn't feel comfortable for you, but you make the deal anyway, you will never be bought into taking care of the situation. So you need to get your ass out of that.
But I've done business with people from all walks of life over the years. And what I really enjoy is when I find somebody who has a different point of view, right? Sure. So now there's this engagement of
that works for you, right? That worked for you in that situation. That doesn't work for all personalities, right? So I think that's very personality driven.
Well, but I disagree, because if I walk in and somebody's got to be exactly like me for me to do business with them, and they got to align with me politically, and they got to have the 2.5 kids, and I've got to. If I'm looking for similarities, I'm probably excluding a lot of business models at that point. Right?
And that would make you a maybe less or more successful salesman, depending on how you look at it. I would say that if it makes you feel uncomfortable, and you're never going to be bought into getting the work done, and you're never going to be bought into the deal to actually go to work every day and get it done, then you need to not do the deal, because there's other people out there that need to do that.
How often does that happen?
Yeah. Huh? I don't think that should ever happen.
You can't say that.
There's kind of a situation that I think most of us have heard about, right? With slightly off topic, but with a gay couple with the wedding cake, situation, and I don't think that should be a thing. I don't think you should care about the genders of people who are coming in asking for a cake. But I also kind of agree with Clint. Right. If you just have some stance that precludes you from being able to do this work and do it well, I don't want you to do it at all. Right.
Exactly. That's a great example.
But ideally, I'd rather more people not be closed-minded to the idea that you can love whoever you want.
But the conversation probably needs to go somewhat like, I'm probably not a good fit for what you want. Right? I'm not going to do it because you're gay.
Exactly.
Right? No doubt. Those accomplish the same thing.
Agreed.
So let's quit with the Christian hate and hating on people that are different from us, instead of saying it's just not my cup of tea. I'm probably not a good fit for this side of this equation.
I totally would like to respond to that. That goes both ways. It is not the Christian. That's a terrible thing to say, Albert.
Oh, we'll call it Muslim hate or Jewish hate
Any hate.
or
Just
Mormon hate.
Any hate. Any time.
I just
what
mean
Cliff
religion,
said.
right? This whole, there's us
Okay, all
and
right,
there's
all
the
right,
rest
all
of the
right.
world.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
that
Let's
is
scale
not-
this back a little bit. We were talking very specifically about a religious event,
Yeah.
right? So we were
So-
kind of on topic. So it kind of makes sense in relation to the thing. I don't think anybody's making the statement that all of these options are always religious people. So
I would guess that, you know, I do know that we have people that follow us in other countries. I do know that. We've seen the metrics. There's a Doc, you didn't know that?
No,
We have
had
people,
no clue.
we have people all over the world. As a matter of fact,
That's cool. I love it.
We have people in Brazil that follow us all day long,
Wow.
whether you like it or not.
Hopefully they're Gracie Jiu-Jitsu people, right? And
Yeah.
there's like, you know,
Yeah.
coming in and like burying people.
Agreed. So the thing is like as free as we are as a nation and as free religiously and how we are able to speak in some other countries as a salesperson, you know, this may be a real issue. What tribe you come from, what
I
religion
think
you
here
come from, what
it can
background
be
you come
an
from.
issue. Sure.
And it
sure.
is. I think in other, you know,
I mean,
in
I
other,
know a guy who takes off his OU ring whenever he's selling out in Lubbock, right?
Hey.
I mean,
Hey,
so,
you walk into my conference room with an A&M ring on, forget it, bud. Get the hell out.
right? I
Oh,
mean,
really?
And I gotta hold all those comments in when I go to a company that's filled with them. I gotta hold all that in. So yeah, it's not just religion. It's just
No, I
personal
can. Yeah,
things.
wow, that's crazy that people make those assumptions predicated
Yep.
on the school you went to or the neighborhood
Well,
you're from.
I mean,
I
tribes
just
tribes
never
are all
had
different
that.
sizes, guys. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
it's pretty
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. So I mean to sit here and you know to make my thing is, and I'll push this until the end of the episode. But if you're not bought into the sale that you're making, you're never going to treat the sale with the justification that it needs.
But I still go back to the point of if you're losing your cool to the point where you're calling out the other person as being somebody because of their issue, you wouldn't do business with them. I think that's such a silly move. I think that's what creates this.
That's easy for you to say as a people lover
But hold on,
on the
hold on,
spectrum
right?
of personality.
I
But
think
John,
I
would
think
you-
there's a right way and a wrong way if you have a moral objection to say, hey, I'm not going to be able to work with you, right? If you if you say, hey, like I don't think I'm the right fit, I don't think I'm the right one to help you, I think that's totally okay. But if you get all finger waggy because you can't just leave it at that, you got to get your ego and your tribe and your identity involved and say, well, I'm not going to help you because of this and this and this. That just makes you
that's
kind of a
ridiculous.
shitty person.
Yeah.
I mean, let's look at it this way. If you build, you know, decks for a living around a pool, if that's what you did for you work in construction.
Are
and
they
you pulled up
big decks?
Big decks. Huge decks.
There you go. Then go ahead. Please proceed.
And the reason I was saying this because I thought, you know, what if you're a Biden supporter or a Trump supporter and you pull up and in their yard is filled with the signs of the opposite, you know, political affiliation, and that's the job you have to do on Monday. How much does that impact the job that you're willing to do? And my point to this is it may impact you hugely. You may turn around. That may be your stance. It may draw the line in the sand and you may pull out of that and say, you know what, this isn't for me. That as a salesperson, in my opinion, is your freaking decision. You can do that. Is it good business? I don't know. I don't know the situation. Maybe not. But I'll tell you this. Are you gonna, if you have those feelings where you want to back out of the driveway and not build the deck, are you gonna build the deck as good as you would for somebody that you supported?
Well,
That's what I'm saying.
So this is a Trump $100 bill, and this is a Biden supporter $100 bill. I can't see much of a difference between the two, and when they go into my pocket, I don't know which one's which.
That is a fantastic point for you.
Okay, so let's back up a second because I
mean, it is.
I think it really, I mean, it's person dependent, obviously, right? We can all, you know, go die on any hill we want. I'd like to share a story about doing it the other way. I don't know if I shared this on here or not, but I was selling investments. Alice had just been born, and I was working in like Aledo, which is like a small town just west of Fort Worth. And these people came in there and I'm trying to sell them something. And there's a picture of my daughter who's an infant. And they're like, oh, your daughter. And I'm like, yeah. They're like, how old is she? And we're doing all the back and forth and everything. And they said, you got to get her in church before she's 3. Right. And I was kind of like, okay, thank you. Right. Like, let's just kind of move on past this part of the conversation that I have no interest in indulging in. And then they're like, well, where do you go to church? And so then I'm like, oh, like, what do I do here? Right. Like, what do I say? And now looking back, I think I would have chosen the different answer. But like in that time, I was like, well, we're between churches and doing all this stuff and just completely lying. Right. Because I didn't feel comfortable, because I thought that I didn't stand a chance if I was honest with these people. And then the whole rest of the day, the whole rest of the week, I was like, oh God, and I was mad about it. Right. So I feel like that's the other flip of the coin, right? If you do something in that like where you compromise either yourself directly or maybe indirectly by making a moral kind of judgment call, like, can you live with it on the back end of it? And I was not happy with the fact that I lied to those people to try to get a deal.
So to say that you are not religiously affiliated, or we're not affiliated with a church, I mean, I get it. We're armchairing it now. I mean, you said what felt best to you at that point. But if somebody asks me, I can do one of two things. I can say Jesus Christ, Lord and Savior, with the best of them, right? Or I can simply say, I'm not a believer. I can appreciate this being a Christian nation and that you guys, hey, go for it. But at a certain point, then it's back on them to decide if they want to work with an atheist at this point, right?
Well, and it's a good point too, because you could also just say nothing. And if you were a true, honest, like hardcore salesman, an honest salesman, you say, why does that have anything to do with the deal that I'm about to make? And if they answer, that's on them to answer, right? If they say,
I think
I'm not willing to give the job to somebody that doesn't go to this church or this affiliation, you have a million different decisions to make after that. But I think as a good salesperson, one of the things you don't want to do is puke all your opinions and voices out on somebody. I mean, I'm very strongly opinionated. You guys know that, but I don't puke it in my sales meetings. You know what I mean? In my business meetings, I don't puke that out.
So, or better yet, you could say, hey, sounds like that's important to you. What religion should I be?
I mean, that is absolutely a way to do it. And that's
you asked that for a reason.
And I really love this topic because all the answers given aren't wrong, right? They're just how you personally, professionally want to do the deal or not do the deal. Like, this is on you. That's why I love the situation where we always talk about you are in control of the sales that you sell. I mean, like, you are truly in that.
So I know a guy, and he has a business doing IT support, and he got a call. And Texas is an open carry state for people who don't know, which means that you can carry a weapon on your hip kind of anywhere you want to go. And so this guy walks into the office. The guy's sitting down. And he stands up to like shake his hand, and he's wearing a pistol on his side, right? And my friend was not comfortable with this, right? And so since he knew that he wasn't comfortable going into this spot, he wouldn't be comfortable sending any of his team in there because they might have the same objections, right? And so he immediately was like, hey, would be happy to talk more, but we kind of need to have a conversation about that because you might not want to work with me. And the guy was like, what do you mean? And he goes, if you're wearing that on your hip, I can't send anybody in here. We're not gonna be able to work together. And the guy was like, okay, why? And they had this, human adult conversation. And then the guy was like, okay, I won't wear it whenever you and your team are here. And he was like, okay, that's really all I can ask for.
Fair.
But
a lot of this will work itself out. Just don't be well, first of all, you could go John's route and feel bad all week because you didn't really tell the truth and you weren't truthful about who you were, right? And maybe people live that on a constant basis. Or you could be like me and say, well, the truth is, but why would it, why is this going to be a deal breaker? And if so, then all right, call it that and move on.
I don't know how many mistakes I've made by saying pardon my French, but fuck them. I mean, I've said that my entire career. It's made me who I am. It's got me some great deals, but it's also lost a lot of business deals. Don't get me wrong. I've shit on some business deals because, hey, I didn't feel good about it. They called me and they were a little heated. And I said, you know what? I don't need to do business with them. Fuck them. right? And I've said those words too quick, and it's saved me a lot of bad deals, and it's lost me some good deals. So,
Agreed. I mean,
yeah.
but isn't that the tribute to calling it like you see it, living to fight another day? And if there's any inkling out there, if you have that luxury, go ahead and take it and say, sounds like this may not be a good match if I've got to be something for you,
Yep.
other than myself, right?
So you want me to change all of my human being or my company's policies to make a deal for you? Sorry, man, we're just not a fit. If that's what you believe. Now, if you're saying, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to be, that's also on you. That's why I said there's no right answer here.
But I think most of this may be just kind of trying to find some common ground for most people, right? Mm-hmm. And so don't take it too deep. I don't think that you blow the deal up because you perceive somebody to be different than you. I think that's a great way to build rapport, is to say, hey, I know very little. I was trying to do a deal up in Utah, in Salt Lake City, and it was a predominantly Mormon company. So my first question was, hey, don't know much about Mormons. Tell me a little bit about, and we opened some great discussions to the point where I literally, we went out to dinner and the waitress came over and I go, are you a Mormon? And she goes, Jack Mormon, which means, I'm born in the Mormon faith, but I drink, I cuss, I do everything else. Yeah. So, I learned that terminology. And so this really became a nice weekend of figuring out what Mormons do and don't do. But, the deal didn't go through, but they had a legitimate chance at getting our business if we got the project far enough down. And they were down with the fact that we weren't, and unique lifestyle, different from anything that I had, had a discussion about, but very legit business people that understood they lived their faith, and that to ask them a question wasn't so off the Richter scale that they wouldn't answer it honestly. And it never really seemed to interfere with any of our business that were talking about.
It's the only place I've ever been arrested.
Utah? Wow.
Salt Lake City.
Salt Lake City. Clint's got a wanted poster in Salt Lake City at the post office, probably.
So quick little story. I got arrested there and I left the state, right? And they said, you have to pay this fine. I said, what if I don't pay the fine? They said, well, then you'll have a warrant out for your arrest in the state of Utah. I said, fine by me. I'll never go to Utah ever again. So no big deal. And then I found out that the state that I was living in was a reciprocating state to Utah's laws. And I got a bench warrant in the mail from my state telling me I had a warrant in Utah. I said, okay, we better pay this fine. Let's call a judge.
Wow. I was about to call the dog on you, man. And I had a fugitive. I could tell him where to come pick you up.
It's been settled.
So, in this day when everybody's on all these social media platforms, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and everything else like this, how much do you talk about your beliefs on, and I know this is kind of like an interesting question, because I don't think Clint does a whole lot on social media. I don't think Nanette does either. Whereas I do a lot. So how much of that would you be talking about, and how much of it would you just not?
I mean, I have social media, and I don't put my stuff out there. One for the protection of my professional life and personal life. I mean, that's just how I think. I don't think that everybody needs to know what I'm feeling every day and what I think, because I think the people close to me don't need social media to know what I think. Right. So there's an agenda there. When you put stuff out, you want people to, I think, I don't know, because I don't do this, right? But I always feel like when you put your feelings out there on social media, you're asking for people to either agree or disagree, or, come into your life, you're welcoming people in. And I've never done that. I've always kept it pretty close pocket, because that's my business and it's my family's business. I just never have really been out there. But it's also, I see it affect people professionally. I really do. I mean, it's nothing anymore when you interview with somebody, for them to not go check out your Facebook and your LinkedIn and your Instagram and your TikTok and them to not make judgments about you. And you know, that I just feel like you need to keep it to yourself. I really do. Not in the sense that you don't have the freedom to do what you want, but in the sense of be careful what you put out there, because it's your business, right? Keep your business your business. Oh.
Yeah.
And to that point, Clint, that I think you can, when you look at these opinions right and left, right, they don't get extreme until you get way outside the bell curve, right? There becomes this point where it's reasonable to take a position on the left and a position on the right. You may not agree with either side because you sit on the other side, but at a certain point, you need to know if you're taking things to an extreme that could damage you professionally, right?
And you might not know that you're doing that until it gets brought up.
It's too late, right? Well, that's where that self-awareness, right? Or if you think something's a little edgy, you might ask a good friend, right?
Prime example, and this is a simplistic form of all of this, but if I'm hiring a babysitter off, like, let's say one of the babysitter apps that they have out there, and I see a name, but what I see is a picture of a girl that's holding a Bible up, but then I go to her Instagram and I find her on Instagram and she's twerking it off the floor. I'm obviously not going to hire this girl to come watch my kids. You know what I mean? And she might be a fine person. She might be a great person, but now my opinion is swayed completely the other way.
I'll
and
take
that's my
that
right to think that way.
Another step further, because I've seen people hide behind religion and using religious jargon to make themselves look better than they really are. And we've seen that in media too, right? Where you've got these big preacher types that are, out in the public one way and in their private life, they're off sinning like better than the rest of us, right?
And I've seen it in veterans. I've seen it in MMA fighters. I've seen it in everything. These people that tell you, I am this, and trust me, I am this. And, just like we were joking about today at the office, the guy that says, hey, I am a scratch golfer. I shoot par every single time. Well, that's funny, because I've golfed with you twice and you shot 150. Like, oh, you had a bad day twice out of the 2 times I golfed with you. Like, eventually the truth is going to surface and come out, and social media it's a great platform if you use it correctly. I see a lot of people use it correctly. I really do. I see a lot of people on LinkedIn, and I can swap over to their Instagram page and it's the same person, right? I can see that transition of like a health and wellness coach of, giving good speeches on LinkedIn to where they're saying, hey, those motivational speeches or those quotes that they put out. And then you go to their Instagram feed and they live that life because that's what they're posting. But I've seen it work the opposite way, right? And let me tell you, employers, people that hire you to do stuff, whether it's direct or they hire you to your company to do a job for them, guys, that stuff's all out there and they all look at it. And if they don't, they're gonna at some point,
right.
For some social media is still new. For a lot of the hiring age, the 55 to 65 age, social media is still new, but those days are dwindling, right? And very quickly, the 45 to 55-year-olds that grew up on social media or have social media are eventually going to be the hire fire people. And if you think they're not going to go to all that stuff to make a decision, you're crazy.
You're exactly right. Yeah. Well, and I think you speak to to be consistent, right, with your message, both because it's a message whenever you start talking about social media that you're putting out there. And if it's a radical message, I mean, as long as it's consistently radical and you're not two different people,
at least I know who I'm dealing with.
Exactly. You say, hey, kind of a crazy individual, but man, they get the job done, right? Because they show up, they said they were going to do this, and that's what they did. So again, it doesn't automatically imbibe that you can't do business if you're, a serious, left or right player. It just
Trust
means
me, I've had subcontractors come into my office and sit down and tell me the most off the wall beliefs and political beliefs. I have flat earthers. I've had a flat earther sit in front of my office, and how could I do business with this guy? If you believe that, how could I do business with you? But you've done 12 jobs for me in the past before I knew that. And you did a stand up, bang up job. I don't care if you believe the earth is flat. That's your stupid opinion. Right. But that's my decision to make.
What? Clint? No, wait a second.
Doc, it's round.
No. Look, I'm looking out. No, I'm sorry.
Hey, I was worried about saying that, thinking, oh, we might lose some followers, but then I thought, well, we might lose a follower, and I'm not too worried about it.
All right. Well, we are coming up on time, so let's go.
Or I just gained about 6 million of them.
I was going to say, they're like, oh my God, Al believe. Wow, we're all watching this guy, right? Hey, flat earthers, bring it. I'm on your side. I'm not convinced it's round either, to be honest with you.
All right, so let's do a quick throwdown.
I'm just dying to go look over the edge, right? I'm keeping all the options open, man. It would blow my mind.
We're coming up on time, so let's go around real quick, right? Clint.
We lost Nan somewhere along the way. Do you see her?
Well, no. Hopefully she comes back.
There she is.
There she is. There she is.
It's my cat again. My cat and dog again. Sorry.
Okay. So where do you draw the line? How do you decide of what's important and what isn't, and what gets in your way?
Well, it's an easy solution for me because I'm gut driven. I am 100% gut driven, which means if it feels good, that's what I'm doing. If it feels bad, I'm walking away, and I can make that gut call instantly. I have no remorse for the decision I make. If I make the decision to go for it and it is wrong, I will ride the storm, man, and I will ride it to the end. If it's my death, I'll do it. If I make the wrong call and I should have went for it, and I don't have that regret because I made that call right then and there, right? So to me, this decision is very gut driven. It's very personality driven. It's how I feel about it. And that's not going to sit well with some of you guys. But as a D, that's the tool you have in the toolbox. And I will tell you that whatever decision you make with, you stand beside that, right? Make it. Learn if it's a mistake, learn from it, right? Put that in your toolbox of tricks and tips, and never do that again if it's wrong. If it's right, hey man, do it to it. But I will tell you that as a D, as a corner D especially, this is easy for me. Just it's a gut feel, and you got to go with it and own it.
All right, good. Al, what you got?
I take people as they come. I encourage them to be who they are in an honest way around me. I don't think I create a threatening environment that doesn't allow, either in a sales call, in my business, in anything that I've strived to do. It's always been inclusive. I'm driven by the bottom line, which is how much money does the project make, and then and then doing a good job for that client, whether they're from any walk of life. As long as they can pay the bill, I'm down with the project. As long as it's in my wheelhouse and they're going to honor their side of the equation, I want to honor my side of the equation. So bring it, come as you are, but let me be me too during this process, because it's going to sneak out. I mean, I have a tendency to talk, and so you're going to see me, but I assure you, it's going to be the same philosophy that shows up every day at your doorstep. And I'm going to be hopefully interested in who you are, but maybe not buying into all your beliefs and your theories. But I do like that flat earth thing. I really do.
All right, Nan, let's go to you.
Flat earth. Okay.
Hey.
Hold on, it's Dan's turn. Parliamentarian has spoken.
I just like to say I really strive to respect other people, and I guarantee all three of you and anyone that knows me probably has stepped on a toe or two. And I'm really trying to not be that person. And just give everyone gets to have their own opinion, and just care about people. I know that sounds, again, oh God, I hear me and just go, God, it's so obnoxious, but it's true. It is true.
Okay. Yeah. So for me, on the seaside, I guess. I think Clint made the best point, and we're pretty opposite when it comes to like how we view some of this stuff. But if it's going to stand in your way and it's going to keep you from doing like the best absolute work as far as delivering for that client, you need to say no, right? And not in like a way of like I'm holier than thou or better than you or anything else like this, but just say I'm not the right one to work with, right? It's very succinct, it's very simple, and you can extricate yourself, right? Because you don't want anybody crunching in on your beliefs, so it's not really fair that you're going to crunch in on somebody else's. On the same side of that, I'm a big believer these days of not compromising my own objections or my own beliefs to make a sell anymore, right? If somebody says something that doesn't line up, I try to make it about business and not any kind of beliefs that they have. But we had to walk away from a deal last week because the ideas weren't aligned and they weren't political. It was just like how we were going to move forward. And I knew that I wasn't going to be able to do a good job. So I said, hey, we're not the right people. We shut it down and moved on. And I don't know where I read this, and I apologize for not having a better research, but I saw this someplace and it talked about the man with no fear doesn't fear the knock at midnight. Right. And I think about that, right? Because I'm really focused on being consistent and being I don't ever want to be on a stage, right, and or talking to a group and someone said, man, I had a terrible experience with John with it just based upon me overselling or not following my beliefs and things like this. So you can't kill it for like every person you work for. Sometimes mistakes do happen, but I never want to be the guy who's accused of not living like my beliefs where I view it to be important. So yeah, this is kind of an interesting episode and very kind of off topic from how I think normally handle things. We try to stay away from the politics and stuff, but with everything going on, I mean, you can't not talk about it, right? I mean, people are wanting to have conversations. They want to know where you stand and stuff like that. So we thought it was a good topic. If you guys know anybody who is not sure who to vote for, maybe you should play them this episode. If they're struggling,
come on over to the winning side. Right with Biden.
Lord.
Bring it.
All right. I got to wrap this up quick. So if you know someone in sales who's struggling, please share this with them. If you have a question that you would like to be talked about on the show, we can keep all the details hidden if you want to, but send us a text 817-345-7449. Follow us on all social media. Everything is at Sales Throwdown. And if you're on YouTube, please take a look at Clint's ridiculous mask.
But wait a second. Amazing. Hey, if you're tired of the Trump train, come ride with Biden, baby.
Oh, Lord. All right. Good night, everybody. We'll see y'all next week. Bye.
Go vote. Go vote.
Go vote for sure. Bye.